In the wake of that 67 war, there's been a 42-year occupation of the West Bank and Gaza, and violation of countless UN resolutions calling upon Israel to withdraw. There was the invasion of Lebanon in 1982 and the subsequent 18-year occupation of Lebanon. There was the active promotion of the U.S. invasion of Iraq in 2003 to remove Saddam Hussein, who was advertised as an enemy and a threat to Israel. There was the murderous assault on the civilian infrastructure of Lebanon again in 2006. There was the assault on the people of Gaza in December 2008 and January 2009. And right now we're seeing a relentless push on the part of Israel and the Israel lobby to invade, for there to be an invasion of Iran, trying to get the United States to do it and threatening that if the United States won't do it, Israel will do it on its own. At the same time, Israel has become one of the major arms suppliers in the world, and it has a record of supporting some of the most repressive regimes in the world. It was an arms supplier to the regimes of Central America, trading in arms and training their security forces in torture and other techniques. None of this, if you dig deeply enough, should really come as a surprise. I would suggest that it's rooted in the whole ideology of Zionism. The founder of modern political Zionism, and I emphasize political because Zionism, although it has religious forms today, was originally a secular movement, was a man named Theodor Herzl, who wrote a book called The Jewish State. And he said something in there, and when I came across this, it really opened my eyes. He characterized this, and this is the way he advertised the Zionist movement to the forces of Europe, the imperial forces of Europe. We shall serve as the outpost of civilization in the Middle East against barbarism. And right down to the modern era, the former Israeli Prime Minister, the man who is now the Defense Minister of Israel, described Israel as a villa in the middle of a jungle. In other words, this was never deemed to be merely a homeland for people living in the midst of and with their neighbors. This was deemed to be an outpost that was sold to the imperial powers of Europe, to the British government, to the Tsarist government in Russia and others, as we will be your point in the region. And it's become all the more relevant in the context of oil politics in the mid to late 20th century and in the 21st century. So in other words, the Israeli government and its supporters deem it legitimate or desirable to impose themselves, civilized Europeans, upon the people of the region. There's even tensions and hostilities between European Jews and Arab Jews of the region, and class differentiations within Israel on that basis. There's no desire to live as equals with the people of the region, and they're trying to impose their will and their priorities on the people of the region with one of the largest militaries of the world. So, what is the complementary force in North America? This is the phenomenon that's come to be called the Israel lobby. In the United States, there are hundreds of Zionist organizations that give unqualified support to Israel, the largest of which is the America-Israel Political Action Committee, AIPAC. They just this week got a hostile resolution toward Iran out of the American Congress with something like 7 dissenting votes out of 400 plus. I can't think of many forces that have the ability to do that. They're organized politically and financially to pressure members of Congress to take these positions, and they regularly get such overwhelming majorities out of the American Congress. And In the last several years, this phenomenon has been spreading north of the line to Canada, and we see it manifested in the Harper government, which has become one of the most hardline pro-Israeli, unquestioning supporters in the world. And the Harper government was the first in the world to announce that it was going to boycott the Durban II conference in Geneva, and was very proud of that fact. And we have the complementary influence of the Asper newspapers across the country backing this unquestioning support for Israel. And I would suggest to you that these are forces that the anti-war movement in Canada and around the world have to address in their own right. We can't merely look at their victims. We need to look at and oppose the influence and the role that is being played by these forces in our society.